Let's look at what VAT is and how it affects your Printful store. But first, we emphasize that this isn't professional tax advice, and we strongly advise you consult a tax specialist to find out your specific obligations. So what is VAT? VAT stands for Value Added Tax. VAT applies to more or less all goods and services that are bought and sold for use or consumption in the European Union. It's placed on each stage of the supply chain. That is why fulfillment, sales, and shipping all have VAT applied to it. There are two main things you should note here. First, Printful always charges you VAT for orders that are fulfilled at our European location with an end address in an EU member state. The VAT rate Printful charges you for these orders depends on whether you're registered as a VAT payer in one of the European Union countries and have submitted a valid VAT ID to us. If you have submitted a valid VAT ID to us, the VAT charge for you is 0%. If you haven't, we charge you VAT for all orders fulfilled and shipped in the European Union. The formula Printful uses to charge VAT is our fulfillment price of the product minus discounts plus shipping price, and multiplied by 21% VAT rate, because that is the VAT rate in Latvia, where our fulfillment center is located. The exceptions are other countries in which Printful is registered as a VAT payer, for example the UK. Orders going to the United Kingdom will have a 20% VAT rate, because we are also registered there and have to use their tax rate. You'll find a link to an FAQ of all the countries we're registered in the description below. And note that since VAT is added to each stage of the product's production and sale, VAT applies to shipping too. So, for example, your customer buys a shirt that's fulfilled in Europe, and it's being shipped to an EU country. Our fulfillment price for it is $12. We don't have a discount for this product, and the shipping is $5. So in this case, we would charge you accordingly. The fulfillment price, $12, plus the shipping price, $5, multiplied by 21%. So for this order, we would charge $3.57 in VAT. Secondly, you might be liable to collect VAT for your customers on all your EU orders. What this means is Printful charges you VAT on orders that are fulfilled at our Europe facility and shipped to an EU country. But if you're liable to collect VAT, you should charge your customers VAT on all orders shipped to the EU from both our US and European fulfillment centers. Similar to how Printful calculates the VAT charge, you should also calculate how much you charge your customer. But in this case, the formula is your retail price for the product minus any discounts, plus the shipping price multiplied by your VAT rate. Now, in this case, the VAT rate depends on the country in which you're registered as a VAT payer. To collect VAT from your customers, you must register as a VAT payer in one of the EU countries, and each EU country has its own VAT rate. You can find a list of all of them in this page. There'll be a link to it in the description below. For example, let's say a customer buys a t-shirt from you with a shipping destination in the EU, and you're registered as a VAT payer in the UK. Your retail price for the shirt is $20, and the shipping cost is $5. So in this case, you would add up the retail price and the shipping price and multiply it by the VAT rate, which is 20%. So in the end, you would charge your customer $5. Now, whether you're liable to collect and remit VAT depends on your location and sales volume. Once again, we advise you to consult a tax specialist to find out your specific obligations. That said, there are three plausible scenarios. Number 1. If you're based in the EU and haven't reached the domestic sales threshold for your country. Each country has a set VAT threshold, which represents the total value of everything you sell or supply. And when your sales reach that number, you need to register as a VAT payer. For example, the domestic sales threshold in the UK is £83,000. If you reach that number, you need to register as a VAT payer in the UK. Collect and remit VAT. We've added a link to where you can learn your country's threshold in the description below. If your sales fall under your country's domestic sales threshold, you're not obligated to register as a VAT payer, and you don't have to charge your customers VAT, but you might think about raising your retail price to make up for Printful's VAT charge. You're not obligated to submit a valid VAT ID to Printful, but you can if you want to. If you decide not to submit a VAT ID, we'll charge VAT on orders fulfilled at our Europe location with an end address in the EU country. But if you do decide to register and submit your VAT ID to us, our VAT charge to you will be 0%. However, we are still obligated to charge you on orders going to Latvia and other countries we are registered in, because these sales are considered domestic and can't have 0% VAT. If you're based in the EU and have reached your country's VAT threshold, you might be liable to register as a VAT payer, collect and remit VAT. So in this case, you're liable to charge your customers VAT on all orders shipped to EU countries, collect and remit VAT. For example, you're based in the UK. The domestic sales threshold for the UK is £83,000, and your sales have reached that limit. You must register as a VAT payer in the UK, collect and remit VAT. You should also submit a valid VAT ID to Printful. If you don't submit a VAT ID, just like in the previous case, we will charge VAT for orders that are fulfilled in Europe and going to EU member states. But if you do so, we charge you 0% VAT for EU orders. But again, here we're still obligated to charge you VAT on orders going to Latvia and other countries Printful is registered in. But in both of these cases, you need to keep an eye on the distance selling threshold. Just like each EU country has its domestic sales threshold, they also have set a threshold of distance selling. And once your sales reach the distance selling threshold of another EU country where you're not based, you need to register as a VAT payer there, collect and remit VAT on orders going to that country. You can see distance selling thresholds of all EU countries here on this page. There's a link to it in the description below. For example, you're based in the UK and you've reached your country's domestic sales threshold. So now you're registered as a VAT payer in the UK, but your sales in Germany have reached the distance selling threshold. So now you also have to register in Germany as a VAT payer. You need to collect VAT on orders going to Germany. Calculate it using the same formula we mentioned earlier. But for these orders, instead of using the 20% VAT rate of the UK, you use the VAT rate for Germany, which is 19%, and you remit VAT you've collected for these sales to Germany. Number 3, if you're not based in the EU and sell your products to customers in the EU. In this case, you must be registered as a VAT payer, collect and remit VAT on orders going to the EU, whether they're fulfilled in the EU or US. You have to register as a VAT payer in one of the EU member countries, preferably the country where you anticipate to have the most sales. You must collect VAT for your customers on orders shipped with an end address in the EU, and later remit VAT to the country where you are registered in. For example, you're based in the US and you want to start selling in Europe. You anticipate your first sales and most of your market will be in the UK, so you register as a VAT payer in the UK. And once orders from Europe start coming in, you collect VAT on these orders and later remit VAT to the UK. Also in this case, you have to take notice of the distance selling threshold, and you have to check whether your sales reach any of the other EU countries' distance selling thresholds, meaning your sales in, for example, Germany, have reached their distance selling threshold of 100,000 euros. In that case, you have to register as a VAT payer in Germany. And just like mentioned before, you need to collect VAT on orders going to Germany. For these orders, calculate the VAT rate using the same formula. But instead of the UK VAT rate, you apply the VAT rate for Germany, and then remit the VAT you've collected for those orders to Germany. If you're not registered, just like in the previous case, we will charge VAT for orders that are fulfilled in Europe and going to EU member states. But if you've registered and submit a valid VAT ID to Printful, we'll charge you 0% on the orders going to EU member states that are fulfilled at our European location. But again here, we're still obligated to charge you VAT on orders going to Latvia and other countries Printful is registered in. Registering as a VAT payer might seem overwhelming, but don't worry, there are a lot of tools to help you. You can check out services like VAT Global, FBA Hero, and Simply VAT for VAT questions and setup help. So let's look at how you can submit a VAT ID to Printful. To do that, open up the drop-down menu under your name up here and select Billing. Choose VAT ID in this window, and then click Add VAT ID. Select your country from the drop-down menu and enter your VAT ID. The validation software will automatically verify that the ID matches the country, and it will also autofill company name and address fields. And the last thing to do here is upload a VAT certificate if you've registered in a country that distributes VAT certificates. If you don't have one, you can upload an invoice that clearly identifies your VAT ID and business name. And that's it. As always, when dealing with tax, we strongly suggest you consult with a specialist. You can find all the links we mentioned, including different services, in the description below. We also have an FAQ on how to go about VAT when setting up your e-commerce platform, so make sure to check that out. And go through our VAT FAQ page carefully.
Hey there, it's Wes from Printful. We have some really great videos on our channel, so don't forget to subscribe to it. And click on the little bell icon, so that way you always get a notification when we publish new videos. What types of videos do you want to see us make in the future? Leave us a comment below.